When do you get nervous on stage?
From the moment I go up until I'm all done.
I love it.
But I am really good at hiding it. Normally no one can see it.
I can't. I sure can't.
I project all my. If you knew I had the tics, then you would be able to see my tics.
Oh no!
Because I project them out. Yeah. Well, there's certain things I do to kind of keep myself from focusing on my nervousness, my fear.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tybersi.
What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for stopping by Jokes in the Gym this week. I'm your host, Rudy Tybersi, and I'm super delighted to get to share with you my conversation with Derek Sheen this week. It was so delightful, so enjoyable, that we just kept talking for another 30 minutes after we recorded the podcast. So I'm excited you get to soak up some of those good juices that we created. And, you know, maybe take a dip in them. Put them in a souffle. Put them in, you know, a smoothie for you later. Have something to listen to for your ear holes when you're at the gym or wandering around the streets or doing whatever you're doing. And so I'm stoked that you get a little bit of that today up in your noggin. So it's been good for me. I've been enjoying my job working at the Y lately. It's been a lot of fun. It's a job, and it requires adjustment and learning and putting different things higher on my priorities list and putting other things lower and just figuring all that out. So that's been fun, but it's giving me opportunities to focus on my three big keywords these days are strength, balance, and flexibility. Those are the things I'm trying to work on these days in all walks of my life. And so I'll be harping on that because that's really what I want to keep in mind. I want to be able to go with the flow. I want to be able to stand up tall. And I want to be able to adjust when I have to. So those are things that I'm working on, and I'm going to try to come back to them. Just keep them in my mind, if nothing else, and maybe they'll come out naturally in conversations, or maybe I'll have to try. You know, I have to try sometimes to keep things in my mind. Sometimes I'll even, write an idea on my set list. Like, what do I want to infuse this performance with? So joy, I'll write joy or whatever sometimes, and I think that that's fun to just be a little more intentional with your actions and what I put out into the world. That feels good to me. So I'm excited that I get to put this conversation with a friend, Derek Sheen. We'd only done shows together over the years, so it was really nice to sit down and get to know each other a little better. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoy my fake sponsor, who doesn't exist and will never do anything for anyone. So, fake sponsor, thank you. Stay who you are, be true to nothing, and go home unhappy. Fake sponsor, this is for you. So, thanks to them at Fake Sponsor for being fake. I want to thank you for being real. You're a real one, and you're going to hear a real conversation with me and the one and only Derek Sheen.
Rock on. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Jokes in the Gym. I'm your host, Rudy Tybersi. I'm super stoked to have my guest with me here today. He's a comedian. He has stand-up records on stand-up records. Is that right?
Oh, no.
No? What? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you paused. You had a hard pause.
Oh, I had a hard pause. That's what
frozen pause.
A frozen pause. Sometimes it takes a little while for the thing to get going. Let's see. And it kind of smooths it out by the end.
I'm so sorry. I was like, you just stayed. You were like,
here's my guest.
It's like, oh, shit.
It's just a real Wayne's World at the drive-thru situation, huh? Well, this guy's great. He's got stand-up records all over the place. He's got a few of them on stand-up records. He's going to be at the flagship comedy festival in Erie. What's the state?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
PA.
Erie, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie, Pennsylvania. Come on out at the end of the month, you flag shippers. Everyone, put your hands together for Derek Sheen.
Yay!
Woo, yeah, woohoo, dee 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 dee. Derek, welcome. How are you doing today? How are things feeling for you around now?
Things are good. Started off. We started off late because of me. My fault completely. Because a 54-year-old man wrote the wrong time in his iCalendar.
I love
and then
that.
scheduled things around it. The extra
Perfect.
time.
And
yeah. So as one is wont to do, your brain just starts to get smoother the older you get. So
that's the smarts are in the smoothness of the brain, right?
Yeah, and as I'm not a texture person anyways, this is all working out according to plan.
Perfect.
So,
not a tactile guy. You're not a toucher, fingerer, not one of those guys.
Smoother the better.
The smoother the better. I'm just like constantly searching for bowling balls or things that are nice and soft. Have a nice. I often have like a rock in my pocket. Have you ever had like one of those things that you like fiddle with to make you feel a little safer when you're out in the world?
So yes,
I love it.
These fiddle with it, and I do it on stage when I get nervous. I put it in my hand so I can just keep myself busy. It's got a little string with some beads on it.
I love that. When do you get nervous on stage?
From the moment I go up until I'm all done.
I love it.
But I am really good at hiding it. Normally no one can see it.
I can't. I sure can't.
I project all my. If you knew I had the tics, then you would be able to see my tics.
Oh no!
Because I project them out. Yeah. Well, there's certain things I do to kind of keep myself from focusing on my nervousness, my fear, my stage fright.
Oh, okay.
So
I love that.
Changing my body position, or doing grand gestures, but really I'm just like trying to get circulation and distract myself from wherever. So if you know it, then you know what to look for. But usually people can't see it there, but I'm usually shitting my pants most of the time. And
I don't want to hide that too. You don't want the shit in your pants.
No, I want to do a Trump. I just want a big fat diaper on all the time while I'm walking around and just
is that why he looks like that?
Yeah, he's got a diaper on all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes
it kind of sounds nice.
I mean, it sounds nice, but I think that's one of those guys that just like he probably just angry shits all day. Where he's just talking to people and he's just doing it to spite them because he's like, "Oh, I wish this was your face." And,
I wish I was.
Melania.
Anything after the 4th is an angry shit for me. The 4th of the day.
Yeah, the 4th. Yeah. That's a spiteful shit.
Yeah. It's usually at the even numbered shits. That's when I'm spiting them. Just the odds.
This one's for the fans.
Yeah. The fan. I've got one, Derek.
I definitely like it. And I also I go up without a plan.
Every time?
I never write a set list. I like to see where the audience energy is and pull my stuff from there and see where I go.
I love this.
So that can also be fucking terrifying because sometimes I can't read things right, or, my radar's off and I start going in a direction and I'm like, I guess I'm just all in. So now I just have to finish this to completion and see where we go. But
that's how you are in the bedroom too.
Oh yeah. You can really clearly see my nervous tics in the bedroom.
Yeah. No plan. I just got to get to the end.
Anytime my wife goes to touch me, I just instinctively push her away, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing."
Yeah,
sorry.
Cradling your rosary beads or whatever. Moving around.
Please let this be over. Please let this be over soon. Performance anxiety. This is more for you than for me.
Well, I've often taken that same approach on stage. Is like I like to go up there and see. I'm freezing. Am I there?
A little bit.
I'm freezing.
There you are.
I think Riverside has performance anxiety once in a while too. My podcast recording software. Well, it's like I love the idea of going up there and just freeballing it, just seeing what happens. So. But that must be different when you are prepping for an album or a tour, stuff like that. How does your approach change when it's a little more like focused or showtime?
I mean, if I was doing something like an album, then I definitely want to have a plan in place because, and also I have more control over that stuff.
Right.
Because I know the audience, that's a special occasion where everybody knows you or hopefully knows what you're bringing. So they're already on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to worry about, risks because that's my audience. They'll go with me. But most of the time, I'm without a net because I don't like to be, starting in comedy, everybody finds certain tools to do things the way they want to do them so you can express yourself and in your own unique way. And my thing was I used to get in, I would write my material. I would physically write it out and read it like from memory.
Yeah.
So if I was in a position where things started to go bad, I was stuck on this track, and I couldn't get off of it. And then would just always end in disaster. And I would watch other comics do that because they're like, this is my set. And if anything goes wrong, then I'm fucking stuck with it because I don't have an exit strategy.
Right.
And I, on the other hand, love to now, also because I got shamed a lot about having a notebook.
Because that, dude.
Some of the comics that I really liked were pretty snotty about me having a notebook, and I got so shamed by it. I was like, I can do this without it. And now I don't ever write anything down.
Oh, man.
I don't write anything except bullet points occasionally, like in notes on my phone. So I don't forget something. But like, I'll go up and just see what happens because I like to have every show be a little different. And it also allows me the space to be able to improvise and pull stuff out of jokes I didn't know was there, or
totally,
or even just go off in a different direction altogether and just play. And so it gives me a lot of freedom. But that freedom, the cost of that freedom is most of the time I am also dual energy is going to not having a complete fucking panic attack because I'm like, what if this doesn't work? It's the Brian Johnson thing. It's the it's the Brian Wilson thing.
Brian Wilson.
Yeah, it's the Brian Wilson thing where he would have his anxiety would be so bad during that horrible period in the late 60s where he would just sit in a sandbox all day. His mentality was, this is from his book, but it resonated with me, is he said, sometimes I would just stand in front of the shower and I would think to myself, what if the water only comes out hot? What if it only comes out cold? Oh God, what if it doesn't come out at all? And then I just wouldn't shower for days on end.
Oh, no.
And that is so relatable to me on that level of anxiety. So
I see so many of these stories are like that. And I'm just like, there are so many people who had ADHD that just never learned how to deal with it. This year at age 39, age 40, got told I had ADHD for the first time in my life. And then the more I research it, I'm like, that makes so much sense. All of these, not all, but so many of these things are like, I'm like, oh, well, that's why it was so hard to like do things differently or adjust or work without, the appropriate amount of food or rest or whatever, and that kind of stuff.
I think Gen X and millennials especially they get diagnosed way later. Also because I don't think we really, not until like the late 90s, early 2000s, did we even really have a handle on like accepting that diagnosis as like an actual, like a real thing. And I grew up at the tail end of like, you're just acting like an idiot, or teachers just making you stand in the corner for an hour because your attention span was too short. So it must be something you did and just not. So there's a lot of shame also, in people, 50 and a little younger, just getting tested for it because they're like, oh, it must just be me.
I think, I'm 40 right now, and I think my age is about when people started to learn that asking for help is okay. Like everyone before us just called us sensitive, called us a pussy, called us whatever. And there was no like, oh, well, then you should try to get some help or find a support system. Like there was some of that, but it was just so feeble that you felt even more shame around that.
Oh, yeah. And then you have a whole generation of men who were from an even different generation of men, sturdier generation of men who could not express their feelings, and even the thought of talking about your mental health was so exclusively bad for men that, you know, they just would rather shoot themselves in the face than ever say like, literally, like, than ever saying like, man, on Tuesdays, I just feel down sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, or sometimes I cry when I'm alone. Somehow that makes you a weak man. I'm like, you know, it's usually the guys that are most scared of their feelings that are kind of the weakest. So it's like, you know, it's nice to live in a place now where I can openly cry in a grocery store, and people have to fucking accept it. And
yeah, you're in the Northwest, so you'll probably get 5 hugs.
Yeah.
If you're, you know, crying in there.
I got a book deal right away.
Yeah. You're next
just from crying
in the deli
yogurt
meats. That's all Derek Sheen.
There's just so many flavors, but none of the ones that I'm interested in.
We are getting a couple drops here and there with the old connectivity. You know, the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, for all of its bells and whistles technologically, you know, you're from Microsoft Capital. Mm-hmm. I'm not finding a lot of good connectivity on this darn internet. But
you'd think the one thing we all rely on would be running the smoothest, but it's weird to see you catch up. The video is lagging your speech.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching it just slowly kind of catch up to what you're saying. And it's weird to see like, oh, your face is a second behind, but your voice is like a second ahead. And then I'm like, oh, it's getting caught up. Look, everything's lining up. You would think I live in a tech mecca. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I think it's you're hearing my inner monologue before I actually say it. It's just popping out, and then my face catches up.
It's also late afternoon here. It's 3:27 in the afternoon. And so there's probably a lot of tech workers that got off like an hour ago and are now using their USB and Bluetooth vibrators. So that can really, that disturbs the process a lot, you know?
The technological ecosystem that we live in.
Like, you guys are sucking up all the bandwidth. Come on. Go manual.
Oh my gosh. I saw this animated series recently on Max, and it was on this alien planet where the technology and the biology mixed. Does that ring a bell to you? It's like the tech on the planet would like filter into the flowers or vice versa. And it's
weird. I know, but
I love sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I love Her, the movie Her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All this kind of stuff.
We just started digging into 3 Body Problem on Netflix, and my mind is fucking blown.
I love it.
It went in a direction I never would have predicted, and also the science, you know, and the science, like the anti-science to it.
I'm on episode 2. What are you on?
I'm not going to ruin it then, but there's a concept of anti-science that they bring up that is terrifying to me.
Oh man.
And it becomes sort of a bedrock a little later on. And nice. when you get near the third to last episode, your brain will fall out of your ears.
Did you finish it?
No, we got 2 more episodes left because I was like, I don't want this to be over yet.
Yeah. Ooh, well, I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so uniquely fucked up. I really love it. And
cool.
It's all about these paradoxes, you know, even from the beginning. It's you know, you find out that every time you think you have a handle on what the plot point's going to be, something immediately changes. And fun. So there's no reliability at all.
I love that.
That comes into play later. Like it has a purpose.
Nice. So the other side of my alien shows right now is Resident Alien.
Everybody loves that show. You can't hate Alan Tudyk. He's a national treasure.
He's a blast. Like that's a dream role to play, right?
And he murders so many people in the first 2 episodes alone.
It's so fun. He's like, "Oh, too bad I have to murder all these people." You know, like that's the whole plot of season 1. I just finished season 1, so I'm excited to keep digging in. Nice. Well, this is called Jokes in the Gym. And one of the things that I do try to talk about with people a little bit is health. And we've touched on it. What do you do? What has your gym been lately? What kind of things do you do to try to kind of loosen it up? We were talking about on stage and moving around and stuff like that. What do you do in your day to day kind of to get the juices flowing?
My days have been very weird lately. The last few months my days are spent mostly working on I'm the guardian for an adult with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So my day is normally spent either up until a couple months ago trying to move them from one state to the other.
Oh, wow.
Get them untethered from an unhealthy family situation. Spending a lot of time flying back and forth. So lots of flight planning, lots of med planning.
Yeah.
Lots of phone time, doing my stuff in the daytime because they're 3 hours ahead in Kentucky. So I'd be up pretty early. Working on that stuff. And now that I've got everything sort of moved and safe and still trying to maneuver, some other family out of the state. But my day's usually been spent in the office. Like, this is my studio, but it's also my office. And so usually I'm here trying to trying to figure out a Medicare thing, or I've been doing, so it's good because for the longest time I was very lived in myself. Yeah. Very self-centered person. And, and just,
you're a comedian.
And now I'm doing something else. I'm always now I spend most of my day using my brain, trying to come up with solutions to problems, trying to talk people through solutions, trying to be a good teacher, a good guide, trying to slow down and think about the process. And then after 5 o'clock, I'm like, now I have to go to the kitchen and make dinner. So I don't know if you've seen my food photos, but
you're quite the chef.
I love to. That's my second gym. Is my kitchen.
I love it.
And so I do a lot of my mental work. But what has suffered is the actual body. And that's partly with age. I realized I had a thyroid. I have hypothyroidism. So after 52, I just started putting on weight and couldn't get rid of it. Tried diet, tried exercise, but it just having a hard time. So I'm in a place now where I think I even out-ate Wegovy. I didn't know that was possible.
Wegovy?
Yeah.
Who's
My
Wegovy?
doctor put me on Wegovy. Wegovy is
it's not a comedian.
No. Wegovy is a semaglutide, which they use in Ozempic. Ozempic's also the other drug that they use, but Ozempic and Wegovy are the two semaglutides that you can get prescribed to help you lose weight.
Okay.
And they're a legitimate weight loss drug. It started as a diabetes drug, which is also great for people with diabetes, but it was designed as a weight loss drug because it slows your metabolism down and also adjusts your hormone level so that you don't necessarily feel the need to eat as much. I don't know all the science behind it, but it is actually the semaglutide is it's genetically coded from Komodo dragons because of the way that they digest food and how often they eat, which is very little. But they're able to slow their metabolism down. And I guess scientists were like, how do they hibernate? How do they do this? Like, with only eating small amounts of food at a time, how can they maintain a healthy weight?
Right.
And it's because of some weird enzyme in their that allows their metabolism to adjust itself, and so they don't have to eat a ton or very often. Wow. So
Isn't
they used it. They started it as a weight loss drug.
That's crazy.
And they copyrighted or trademarked as semaglutide. So there's only 2 drugs that have that, and they are supposed to be awesome at helping you lose weight. I have friends that are using them.
Yeah.
Who were also heavy, who were like, oh my God, I've lost 25% of my body weight in like 6 months.
Wow.
And I'm healthy. I'm eating healthy. I don't have to starve myself. I don't have to diet. I just have to eat when I normally eat. Yeah. And my body just goes, we're done. We're good. And not even finishing a whole plate of food. On the other hand, Tracy Morgan my way through this shit. I started taking it and I was like, let's have ice cream at night.
And the semaglutides didn't give a fuck.
The semaglutide is like, I beat it. I beat Wegovy. I beat the boss level. I put on 8 pounds on the Wegovy. And my doctor was like, what is going on? I'm like, you told me not to change my diet. I'm trying to be conscious, but now I'm more hungry than I've ever been.
Oh,
I'll polish off an entire bag of chips, and then I'll wash that down with a Klondike bar and then a couple of Cokes, and then I'll wake up an hour later and I'm like, I'm going to make a sandwich. I'm starving.
The semaglutides stink for you.
I fucking broke that drug.
Yeah, they got to take it off the shelves.
Everybody else has got
cow.
a success story, and I'm like, nah, I had 3 hot dogs for breakfast. I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm now in the phase where I have the heaviest I think I've been in probably 14 years since when I started drinking and quit smoking. I went up to 275, and then I lost, I would say, 40% of that. And then the last 2 years I've put on a tremendous amount of weight. I'm up, almost up to 250. So
have you included other kinds of lifestyle adjustments as well, or is it like, have you included more walks in your day-to-day or anything like that?
Definitely doing more walks, trying to be more active. It's been hard the last few months because I have been in this office all day.
Totally.
From the moment I get up at like 8 o'clock, I'm on the phone all day. So I end up staying here. And then it's, kitchen time. By that time, I've usually been so dead on my feet that I'm like, I don't even feel like cooking.
Yeah.
So then we order in, right? And so that is also not helping. When I cook, I work. So I burn a ton of calories. Am I slowing down?
I heard that is also.
Okay, so when I cook, I burn a lot of weight. When I'm at home just eating takeout, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
So I noticed that nights when I actually work in the kitchen, where I spend 5 or 6 hours there, I'm down. I probably lose 1.5 pounds overnight because my metabolism's like, yeah, more of that.
We're moving. We're grooving.
I burn it off, and I also spend a lot of time breaking down and cleaning the kitchen and everything because I like to do that. And nights that I spend eating in, even if it's a small meal, I feel like shit the next day. I'm always logy. So, there's a lot to be said for preparing your own food, but also it has a lot to do with the energy I put into, the prep and the cleanup and everything. I try to stay busy. So
and the rest
I
of your
definitely
days
have put on a shit ton of weight.
Yeah. No, you know what? I have recently got in a first job in a year. I've been unemployed, trying to find work. Being a comedian in Eugene, Oregon doesn't quite pay the bills. And surprise! Well, I wasn't. I didn't come here trying to do that. By the way, I wasn't like, I'm going to go be a comic in my hometown.
There's only 2 things you do in Eugene: become a comic or quit comedy. That's it.
It unfortunately seems like most people are doing the former. There's a lot. No, it's well, the thing is, it's like I tried to start this whole podcast to find more balance for myself and hear what other people do to find balance in their lives. Like, what are the things that other comedians are doing to keep themselves sane? And so when you get more stuff added onto your plate, it's like, oh, well, now I have to make other adjustments. Now I have to take other things away. And,
right.
And a lot of the time it's like physical activity is the first one that goes, or creativity is the next one in some ways, going to less mics or doing less writing or doing whatever, because it's like, oh, I got to pay the bills. I got to get by. I got to survive. And that stinks. And so I'm just like trying to figure out how to jigsaw my life into a place that feels balanced and complete, and like I can give myself to others and to myself, and that's hard.
It's super hard. It requires a great deal of balance and fortitude and focus, things that if I turn on my Xbox will immediately all just go in the toilet. And sometimes, but it feels better sometimes to do that.
Totally.
Sometimes it feels better to just fuck all of it off.
100%.
But it becomes habit forming too, because then I'm like, well, why even try today?
Yeah.
I feel like shit today. Well, I'll just do this today. This is fine. I don't need, but all of your creative stuff gets sapped. And I notice the heavier I get, the more self-conscious I get about it. And it definitely affects my energy towards wanting to be creative. There's something about, 2 years ago, or even, pre-COVID even, but, I was 200, 205, but I always felt good about myself. And I had an insatiable desire to like get up early, work on music, write for a little while, work on stuff in the kitchen, then go to an open mic or go do a show, or, before, if I wasn't on the road. So I was all day from the time I got up, I was producing, making something, creating something, bettering myself, working on a skill,
Doesn't that feel
not because
good?
of the money, just because I was like, I'm just jazzed about stuff. And I'm not jazzed about anything right now. I feel like,
Right.
And so it's hard. It's hard to stay motivated. The fatter I get, and I'm sure this isn't for everybody, not everybody feels like this, but I feel like the fatter I get, the harder it is for me to just want to do anything. And I see it.
You're not alone in that at all. It definitely takes its toll on you physically and mentally, because you can work so hard, you can work your tail off, and you're not necessarily seeing results. And so that's why I really try to encourage the focus to be like feeling. Like, okay, if you work out, if you do 10 minutes of a walk or calisthenics or whatever, you're probably going to feel better pretty quickly, at least in that small amount of time. And then just by doing that, you're gathering momentum, gathering steam, and it ends up feeling a lot better. It's like, oh shit, I'm glad I did that.
It changes everything. I mean, just having, burning calories is energy. Right. And so energy, produces a lot of things. I mean, energy is a forward progressive momentum that creates, it's self-creating. And it definitely is tougher. I think that, like the end of the day, my pants hurt, because they're too fucking tight. Like my belt hurts, under my gut where the belt's been resting all day is just fucking sore. And I've rubbed a clear spot into my stomach where you could probably see my actual intestines because it's just worn against it for so long.
I got a pulse there.
Yeah, just the aggregate movement all day of my belt rubbing against my gut has just made the skin clear.
Yeah.
That shit hurts. Like at the end of the day, I just want to be like, I just want to be naked and on my back. And I don't want to, because I'm like, this is the only way that I don't feel pain. My feet don't hurt, my waist doesn't hurt, my pants aren't too tight.
My special area right now is the taint. It needs some attention. The old taint and thigh rub and crotch scrub. It's like
been there.
It's a lot. It's like, why are you? You're just a part of my body.
I have to have my already, because I'm a shorter person. I'm 5'4", but I also have very short legs, so I have a short waist. So I have to have all of my pants specially tailored.
Whoa.
So I have a 25 and a half inch inseam. Right.
Yeah.
And ladies, and my wife's like, thank you. But I have a 25 and a half inch inseam.
Cool.
That's a child's inseam.
Okay.
So
you're like in
my
6th grade.
pants have to be tailored.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my pants have to be tailored a specific height, because there's nothing off the rack that will ever fit me. I have to have the pants not only hemmed, but I also have to take them in at the thighs and everything, because, I also have thin, weird legs. So if I have the pants shortened, then I just have these fucking balloon pants. Right. So everything's got to be tailored.
So do you have a tailor you go to?
I have one guy that I really like now, who's just he just runs a dry cleaner, but he does great work, and he does it himself.
Nice.
And he if I remember correctly, he's Palestinian. So we haven't had a lot of long conversations because he doesn't speak great English, but I tip him really well, and he just does the shit out of my pants.
Heck yeah.
But here's the thing because they're specifically tailored to my height and my thigh size and everything, the more weight I start to gain, the tighter the pants become, not just in the waist, but on the inside thighs, to the point where I can't really lift my legs up very high, because I already have like tiny little legs, but I can't, like walking upstairs, I have to use my whole back, because I got to like move and the pants are tight, and they're just... My nuts are all separated at this point, just over time, like just from the constant just riding of that middle seam. I'm just my whole world is just completely shook the heavier I get, because I also can't like keep getting bigger pants. because I'm still going to be the same height.
Yeah.
You know?
Why don't you grow taller? Well, have you ever thought about that?
I have thought about having this surgery where they remove 3 inches of your tibia in your forearm and then replace that in your femur.
No.
So that, that's a real operation you can get done. Yeah.
Have you seen Gattaca?
They make you 2 inches taller. Yeah, I have.
I love Gattaca. Another one of my favorite sci-fi movies.
That is one of those sci-fi movies where they did self-actualize the surgery to make you taller.
Yeah.
Also from the movie She-Devil with Roseanne Barr, she had that surgery done in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like, that movie's fucking awful. But that scene where she's recovering from the surgery, having her legs extended, is just brutal. Because it's pretty realistic, and you're like, why is this in this movie?
Oh my gosh. That does not sound like something I want. I mean, I remember She-Devil and like seeing it on shelves and stuff. It's been so long. Have you ever met Roseanne?
No. Thank God, no.
Thank God, no. Jeez Louise. I have a rec that I've watched. Are you a scary movie guy?
Oh, I'm 100% scary movie guy.
Have you seen Talk to Me?
Oh,
write it down. Oh man. Oh wait. Have you written a thing about it? Is it over there?
Top middle of my shelf.
Uh-huh. Top, middle, up here. This thing. Oh, is it the hand? It's the hand. Oh, I love it, dude. I watched that this weekend. It freaked my shit out. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It feels like a unique premise at the very least for a horror movie.
It's my top 5 horror movies of the last 24 years.
Dude,
I mean, it's since 2000. It's one of the best. I mean, it's that and Session 9 are my two of the best horror films. I will watch them when I want to feel uneasy.
Yeah, I'm a scared little boy, and I had to do a bunch of these like this while watching. I had to like cover half of myself, and it's
so well done, and there's so many little things. I've been tearing this movie apart piece by piece with some other film friends about I've seen it a lot, and I will watch it again and again and again and find new things in it that I love.
So it keeps holding up.
Yeah, it's great. It's really fun, and it's just such a fun premise, and it's done so well, and a lot of people hated it. And
really, why?
I think they didn't like that they were all like, well, the teens in it were so fucking stupid, and you could have avoided it. I'm like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point is that they're stupid, and we're following them and seeing how they're making those mistakes. But then you also see yourself in their place because you're like, oh, I would probably have done that. I would have at least tried it.
Right.
I would have tried it at a party. Absolutely.
It's like a party drug. And that's such a cool, fun premise that I hadn't quite seen before. It was a blast.
It's great.
Yeah, nice. What else? I saw Late Night with the Devil this weekend too.
Loved it.
You seen? Yeah,
loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Wasn't freaky, but it was a blast to be on the ride.
Super fun, and Das Malchian did such a great job anchoring that movie. Yeah.
Oh man,
he's so good.
He was so good. Has
he been another? It's funny to think that his I feel like he's been around a lot longer, but his first film was Batman Returns.
Oh,
or The Dark Knight, excuse me. Where he played the cop in The Dark Knight who was one of the Joker's henchmen.
Okay, yes.
He was at the big scene where they had like 200 police officers or 1,000 police officers, I think, to protect the mayor.
Yeah.
And at the parade, and the Joker's got like his regular makeup on to make him look human.
Yeah.
And Des Malchian plays one of the snipers.
Okay.
And they catch him, and he poisons himself. But like, that's his first role. Like, that was his first time on film, and I'm like, that wasn't that long ago.
Really? No. And he just carried that movie beautifully. Like, Late Night with the Devil was a blast to watch. I didn't know what I was expecting, but they did a great job.
I really loved it. I loved the end too. I thought it was really, really fun and very funky. And but I am excited. I'm looking forward to Long Legs.
I haven't heard of Long Legs.
When you get a chance, watch the trailer for that later.
Okay.
It's Osgood Perkins. So I really love this filmmaker, and I don't know if you have seen The Black Coat's Daughter.
Mm-mm.
If you want to see a movie that really freaks you, like, it's a slow burn. It's a real slow burn with the actress from Sabrina, the Netflix Sabrina, not the other, not the ABC Sabrina from the 90s. But it's got that actress that she's really fucking good. It's a great cast, all girls school. And it just is a real slow burn, dark ride that just keeps getting more fucked up as it goes on. And you don't know the story. It's all about unreliable narrators, and you don't know what the story, like who's telling the truth or not. But the ending is so fucking chilling. And he's great. He's a real solid horror director. He's a solid director, but just a real slow burn, and then just little things that will stick with you, that will burn themselves on your brain, and you won't be able to stop thinking about them.
What are your thoughts on?
He's great, and Brian Bertino's another one who directed the original The Strangers.
Okay.
But he's got a movie called The Dark and the Wicked, which is also probably, I would say, my top 10 of all time horror movies. And it just came out, I think right near the tail end of lockdown, they released it. And holy shit, it is just a bleak, dark, somber, quiet, and absolutely dread-filled horror movie. And it takes some weird turns that you can't even, at some point, you're just like, did I just see what just happened? Because my brain didn't know how to process it.
The Dark and the Wicked.
Dark and the Wicked. Highly recommended. Probably above everything else, I say start there. Because it's so recent, but it's so good.
Okay.
And it's a real ride.
Ooh, that's fun. I love a ride.
Oh.
Just going on.
Horror's having an amazing renaissance right now where all these directors who are storytellers now, they're not just jobbers. We went through a period where there were a lot of horror movies, but it was just directors directing horror scripts, and they weren't exciting, but they were stories, but it was just to get us in the theater. Now you've got guys who see how powerful that genre can be in the medium, and using it to tell other stories,
right?
But in the context of horror. So giving us something we haven't experienced before, which is very visceral, not unlike, like Hereditary, I think was...
I was going to ask about Midsommar.
Which I really loved. A lot of people hated it, but I loved it just because I thought it was hilarious.
It was crazy.
And I thought it was funny, and I think he knew where the comedy was in that movie. Because and also the punchline, which a lot of people didn't get, is... the end of that movie, when that house is on fire, the prop house that they've set on fire, that's only day 3 of their festival.
Really?
It's a 9-day festival, if you remember correctly. So
and she's there for the whole thing.
Yeah,
that's a trilogy. He built a trilogy right there with
Well,
essentially,
the beginning to the end of that movie is only the 3 days of that festival.
Oh, man.
So imagine that's only day 3. Imagine how much fucking crazier it gets.
Dude.
We never even know. We're only at day 3. When they've already inseminated someone and then set her boyfriend on fire. And fucking murdered everybody, sacrificed everybody. We didn't even get to the crazy shit. This is just the introduction to their festival.
I feel like we got to some crazy shit.
Got a little bit.
But
I think it gets way weirder.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Oh, man. Midsommar is hilarious, ridiculous. One of those ones that you watch and you got a look on your face the whole time. I'm just like, what the fuck is going? And
exactly.
he punches you in the mouth with the initial starter, that is a brutal intro to the film.
I love it so much. But Hereditary for me has so much more rewatch value.
Okay. I haven't watched Hereditary.
Oh man. I mean,
all right, I'll put it on the list too.
It's fucking heavy.
It seems like it. That's what people have said.
It's real heavy, but it is from beginning to end. It is pure. I mean, it's pure dread, and he gives you these things where you have to rewatch it because you'll miss it. You'll miss little clues that you get throughout the movie that sew things together, sort of a secondary narrative that's happening under the story,
right
underneath the main story. And the more that you start to unbox this stuff and go through it, the deeper this fucking story gets.
Yeah,
to the point where, I mean, it's so many levels. And I mean, I'm trying to just tell you what it is without telling you anything, because you have to go into it without any expectations.
Okay.
But it's not gore.
Yeah.
It is pure, like, old school dread and horror. Like real horror. Horror is the concept of horror, honestly, is when you are when characters in a story are faced with the dilemma of which there's no escape for them, and we are witnessing that. So it typically means there's not a great end for everyone, but we are the observers. So unlike romance or anything else, where you're still watching a story unfold, but the outcome is different, horror is when the characters in that story are doomed. We already know it.
Right.
But it's watching the trajectory of that doom. Yeah. A lot of horror has always gotten this weird rap, especially during the 80s, during the special effects boom, where it's just got to be like, you know, what can the body withstand? You know, what terrible things can we do to a victim? And that's just titillation. Real horror is like, you know,
it's psychological.
It's the parts of The Exorcist where Reagan's not possessed yet.
Right.
That's
leading
horror.
up to it.
Yeah, it's finding, like, loving this character, seeing how innocent she is, and knowing that this is all going to be, that, you know, they're going to corrupt that. And, and fucking Hereditary does it on such a level. The first 7 minutes of Midsommar, where she's trying to track down her sister.
Yeah.
And we get ideas about the email that she sent. And we start feeling the same feeling that she has, that we know we don't want to admit, but something bad has happened.
Right.
That's the entire movie, Hereditary.
Okay.
The first 7 minutes of Midsommar, but make it 98 minutes.
Oh, man.
And it is just constant unease and fear and dread. And
does it stay with you? Has it stayed with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, years after I've seen it. I still rewatch it probably every 3 or 4 months. I'll put it on because, again, it's one of those movies that it'll unlock another key will get unlocked, or another tumbler will get unlocked. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's another aspect of that story that he knew he put it in there. But he admitted that there's so many Easter eggs in that movie that just add levels to the story as you go. So
I love how your comfort food is horror. It's just like terrifying, maniacal.
You know why? Is because this is going to sound hyper honest, but raised in a very unhealthy, violent, had a very violent upbringing, had a very unpleasant, abusive, scary, unpredictable environment that I grew up in. And I loved horror because I found a way to reconcile how I was feeling by having control over the situation. And what horror allowed me was an escape from what I was going through, to see other people being mistreated, but knowing that they were actors, but also just having control. I could get up and leave at any time. Yeah. And it was one way to control, like, my fear of self-preservation, the unpredictability of my surroundings. Horror was one of those great escapes for me because I could see those things on display and realize that, I don't have to fear them. Right. They're not real. And I love having those things challenged as well. What can scare a person?
a book? Have you ever written a book or thought about it?
I've thought about it. I mean, I've definitely thought about. I've worked on and off writing about my family, and a lot, and anecdotally, because some of it's so crazy that it is funny.
Yeah.
But definitely, I've considered how that ties into my love of horror and fear. Dude, it's very therapeutic.
I bet. Well, one of the things you mentioned on stage one of the last times I saw you, you're like, and that was the fourth dead body I saw, or whatever.
I've seen well, up until then, I'd seen 8, I think. Now I believe we're at 9.
No.
Yeah, we just saw it. My wife was with me, and we saw a headless corpse on a hill being...
What?
Yeah, we were driving through the valley, Yakima Valley, to go to Idaho.
Jeez.
And there were patrol cars on the side of the highway, and they were walking up to investigate the fucking headless corpse that was just laying on the hillside.
Whoa.
And so I'm waiting for confirmation to see like what the story was. But I think we're technically at 9 at this point.
Man. Well, what I said it to you then, and I'll say it to you again. I want to see an hour or a book of short stories or a script about all the dead bodies you've seen. Talk about being able to control the disgust or whatever in your life. I would love to hear your take on all of that. And you could weave it together beautifully.
I've been joking about, like, at this point, like if you're in a situation now where someone that you love has gone missing, and we're past the 48-hour point, and you suspect the worst, then just hand me a Diet Coke and send me into the woods for a few hours. I will fucking stumble on them on accident.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I do. That's my gift. I didn't realize it's my gift. I'm a death whisperer. I just find fucking bodies in the wild.
You're not a bloodhound. Your nose doesn't even work.
No. Yeah. I'm better than a jogger. I'm a slow walker. I'll find the bodies, but I also won't be so concerned with my heart rate that I can't stop. I'll stay in a report.
And you got your, stevia for sustenance or whatever.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, so you're not writing a book at the moment. What are things that you are working on?
I mean, I am, I'm still toying with it, but right now the big thing is I'm trying to work on this solo show that I'm hopefully going to start taking out in October to test it. And it is also a lot of it's about my mom. Because losing my mom was like a weird thing for me. I mean, it's losing a parent's natural. Hopefully everybody gets to do that.
Right.
Because nobody wants to. No parent is like, I hope you die first.
Yeah,
but
the opposite sucks.
Unless you're
even
Donald
worse.
Trump, and you're like, I wish you fucking kids would die.
These douches.
But I love that there's nothing in the will for them at this point. That makes me so happy.
There's no will now.
There's no will at this point.
It's gone.
But I am, so I'm mounting a show that's a lot of the anecdotal stuff and a lot of the stuff from the stand-up I've been doing because it's all me practicing these pieces for this show. And it's a lot of the family stories and also a lot of the weird shit that all kind of ties in with a mom who's like, let's make you interesting against your will, And,
she's just feeding you weird lines, or what?
I'm going to teach you how to reconcile trauma and be able to protect yourself from trauma by subjecting you to the most trauma I can think of. And so that was her, like, I was an abused child, and look how I turned out. And
so her intent was to inflict
put us
trauma?
in the worst situations. Like, I'm going to marry an abusive alcoholic, and then a second one, and let's see how this goes. It's good for us. It's good for us, right? It's teaching us how to be self-sufficient and have thicker skins. Look how tough we are.
Cool.
So,
thanks, Ma.
It's a lot of her stuff, and also, the reverie of, like, talking about her, even though we had a complicated relationship. It's still, it had levels, and so I feel like I owe her that much. So I want to do the show as, sort of a reflection on how complicated things were, but also fucking truly the gift she gave me was being able to find humor in the absolute shittiest places. Like, without her knowing it, she kind of made me a comedian.
Yeah.
Because she gave me the tools, like, if you can laugh at it, it can't hurt you. And then was like, well, let's test that theory. How about
really
your stepdad?
test it.
Here's your stepdad drunk. Go get him.
That feels like the worst video game.
So, she gave me a gift, and that is, that I grew up learning how to rationalize my trauma in a way that I could sort of take some of the pain away from it by sharing it with people in a way that made them feel less shamed or scared by it. Because everybody's got shit,
Totally.
Maybe they don't have the same level as I do, but I also run into people who had it 10 times worse.
Right.
So I feel like if I'm able to talk about it in a way that's healthy, not where I'm just constantly projecting my fear of it onto people, or, the guy who's like, I ain't scared of it, I'm fucking terrified of it.
Yeah.
But if I talk about it in an honest way, it feels like it can still be very funny. And it can also kind of, like putting the medicine in the treat,
Yeah.
You don't taste it, but later on you feel a little better and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Because there's some catharsis somewhere in there for people who, you know, talking about losing a relative in a healthy way instead of a claptery way,
Right. Yeah.
can really have an impact on people. And
100%.
and it's good. I've had good responses to people coming up after and saying like, oh, I just lost my mom and it's super painful. And it was really funny. It made me laugh to like hear just the ridiculous way that you kind of reconciled it and made me realize like, oh, like I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good. That's why I feel like, oh, if I can do that in a 90-minute show and make people feel a little better about some of the scary shit.
Yeah.
Or let them project that onto me because I'm good at handling it and making it fun, or at least taking the scare away from it, taking the energy or the power away from it enough that I can, I can laugh at it healthy, or I can laugh with it, I guess is probably better.
You've already done a lot of the
but
work.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah. That's great. That sounds so awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like that's going to be the book. I mean, I think that when I get the show done, it's really going to help me figure out like what the framework for the actual book is. Because I had a really good, I had a sample chapter floating around for a long time, and it's about 47 pages, and it's a really crazy story. But I had my friend, I had a friend read it. I have a few friends read it, but I had my friend Mishka take a look at it. And he was absolutely right. He's like, it's not good. It's missing you. You're writing about something from a removed perspective because you haven't dealt with the pain of it yet or reconciled what your part of it is. You're nowhere in the story. He was so right. It's like 47 pages and you never mention yourself. You talk about it from the third person, but you never once ever describe how you feel, what you're thinking, like what your part in things are, what your fears are, what your hopes are. He's like, you just give this information. He's like, you really need to take time to think about yourself and write about yourself because you do that on stage. You talk about these things from your perspective and you have to find that vulnerability on paper. So I'm kind of hoping that the longer I'm able to get this show off the ground, I think the more it's going to help me kind of sit down and figure out how to put myself in my work. Because it's one thing to do it on stage. It's a different thing when you do it on paper.
For sure.
That's why when you try to say Stephen King's dialogue out loud, you sound like a maniac because it looks great on paper. Yeah. It works in your head, but when you try to say it out loud, you're like, this is clumsy as fuck.
This is
like,
so
did you
weird.
even, nobody talks like this to anybody.
Yeah.
But on the paper, it works great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever taken Stephen King dialogue and tried to say it out loud, like a real conversation.
No.
It doesn't work. And it's true. There are things that work great on the written page that don't translate to the spoken language. They're two different mediums.
Right.
And so doing that with King stuff is always really funny for me because, like, I used to love to run scenes with friends of mine.
Yeah.
Like from the book, though.
From the stand, you and your buddy are reading. Yeah.
And you're just doing the characters, but when you're saying it out loud, other people are like, this is the worst dialogue. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
You're like, it's from the best-selling book that we all love.
Yeah.
But it only works in your head. Like, language is it's different when I'm on stage and when I write, which is also partially going back to full circle why I don't write things down as much anymore. Because I tend to stick to the script, and how I write is different from how I talk.
Right. Have you ever transcribed a written set, or not a spoken set? Like you have, that was where I wanted it, and then you write it down. Like
I've tried that, but then I start doing the writer thing, where I go, what
editing?
if I said it like this? What if I said it like this? And then I try it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Now I don't like this bit. Why am I doing it like this?
Yeah.
Oh, am I just doing it totally wrong? What if I wrote all this out? And they're so different for me.
Right.
Where I get very technical when I start to write. And I have to find out how to remove myself from that, how to add myself as a character.
Allow yourself to be you in the writing. And that's a hard thing, right? Like we do the comedy because, we want it to be ourselves, but at the same time, we're keeping distance from it somehow.
Yeah. Well, and also there's the added element of people can see your face.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot I can give away with my eyes and how I move my face.
For sure.
That helps sort of, fill in those spaces for people where they can go, oh, he's saying that, but his face is telling me something different. The delivery changes everything. And in writing, it's all there. Like the picture can't give you the signals.
Right.
It has to be written down. So everybody sees it, and it's very different. And I definitely, it fucks me up.
Yeah. They're very different medium.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing a horror script?
Oh yeah, I've got several things that I've been floating around that are half finished.
Yeah.
Ideas, because but I need to. I have a partner that has worked with me on this stuff, and I think now that I'm back in some clearance, where my head's a little free, because I was really hitting it before COVID, and then right when COVID hit is when everything fell apart, and I'm still fixing it.
Yeah,
like family stuff and a lot of shit that just fell apart that I'm still trying to fix for everybody.
Right.
But now that I'm freed up a lot more, that stuff I'm kind of going back to, and I talked to my buddy about, like, we need to revisit this because maybe it'll make a better book than a script, But we have some really fun ideas.
That's great.
I'd love to see them come to fruition.
Yeah. I love seeing all the projects that comedians I enjoy are working on. Like, it's so cool to see people work in different mediums. Some people don't like that, but I'm like, no, I want to see what you do in a book. I want to see, what other comedians do as a leading man or woman or whatever. And it's not always what you think.
Oh, I talked to a friend of mine who's a director about a horror film that I still really want to make. Even as on a small budget, it's very doable, but it's one of those things where every single scene in this movie, there is something in it that doesn't belong there. And so every scene of the film would be this off-putting, sort of upside down, are we in the real world? Like everything. There'd be an element in every scene that you'd have to go back. And it would either add a little bit of fear or make you unsettled the whole time as we progress through the movie. Yeah. And he was like, that is such a complicated thing. And I'm like, but it's so fun. I love when I see movies that just have so many little things in them detail wise that are, you wonder, like, why am I already fucking scared? I'm only 20 minutes into this movie. Yeah. And it's because your brain is seeing things that you're going to see. Yeah. Yeah.
The show Dark on Netflix?
Yeah.
That was like my favorite show Netflix has ever made. So good. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. Oh my God. I watched season 3 on the day, that day in the show, June, whatever. And I was like, ah! Like I never binged. And I was just like exploding with life. It was just such an exciting experience.
And that's a great example, by the way, because there really is something in every shot. There's almost something in every shot.
Yeah.
And you know what I loved was, House of Usher, but
so good.
But what was the one that he did? The other series
Midnight
he did,
Mass.
Not Midnight Mass.
Midnight Club.
He did the other one. It's not Fall of the House of Usher. He did the other Poe thing before that. That was a that had Henry Thomas in it, and it was a family drama where they see ghosts, in the house that they. It
was one of the house ones, right? I don't know if I've watched the house ones.
It's not House of. Is it not? It's not House of Usher though, right?
I don't.
That's the last one that happened, right?
Right.
The Fall of the House of Usher. Yeah, it's in the title, Derek. The other one they did where they went to the house that everybody dies in, right? Like oh god damn it, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, right. It might have been that one.
And it's Mike Flanagan, right?
Yeah, Mike Flanagan. I didn't watch his. I watched his last 3 series: Midnight Mass, Midnight Club, Fall of the House of Usher.
I mean, I'll be honest. His movie Ouija, the Ouija sequel that he did, is absolutely brilliant.
Did he do both?
No, he just did the sequel.
Oh.
And I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm looking up his IMDb right now.
Right.
The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes, The Hauntings. I haven't watched the Hauntings ones of his.
He did a movie called Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Oh, okay.
And it's a completely different story than the stupid Ouija movie.
And
it's got, the cast is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's got some moments. I mean, it's great. It's all well done from beginning to end, but it's got some moments in it where you're just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And it has a great ending. It's got a Flanagan style ending.
Oh, cool.
Haunting of Hill House. The reason I brought it up is because if you go back and watch every scene of that movie or every scene of that series, in almost every scene, there is a ghost. He puts a ghost in almost every scene, and you have to go back and you'll start seeing them like reflected in the back of their head, reflected in a mirror or in the shadows of a hallway while somebody else is talking over here, not focus center.
Yeah.
So but there's a ghost in every scene.
It's kind of like
show.
Your room, your office, everything, every shot I look in your office, there's another skull or another dead thing or something around.
All the guitars.
Yeah.
And then over here is the shelf of fun.
Oh man, that is awesome. You have quite the collection, sir.
I'm doing I'm getting back into trying to get my toy collection back and
have some fun.
All my fun stuff. I'm getting into PVC models.
What do you make?
They're
with
like
those?
they're basically like the statuaries that you'll see. If you go to a comic book store, you'll be like, oh, they have a whole case of like there's Wolverine and Captain America, and they're all in action poses, but they're all made out of PVC.
Oh, cool.
So it's a lightweight plastic material,
right?
But they make these fucking statues out of them. And
how big are they? 3-4 feet. Oh yeah, what do we got? We got Wolverine over here. Oh, I don't know.
This is my newest one.
Hell yeah! Ooh, look at that! And you didn't make that.
Oh God, no. These are you buy these.
Oh yeah, that is.
Look how fucking big
that is rocking, dude.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's a Godzilla.
It's huge.
Have you seen the new Godzilla?
I'm so into stuff like this right now, and I didn't have it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So.
Hell yeah! No, it's fun
now
to
I'm
indulge.
Living my best life.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so cool. Well, I do want to, I am conscious of time and I want to respect your time. And one of the kind of questions I close-ish on, you've done comedy for what? How long? How much of your life? What percentage of your life? I want to say,
I mean, I lose track, but I want to see I've been doing this is probably my 19th year.
Yeah. Nice. So you kind of got started later in the game.
Yes.
I love that. Because you're you're a human being by the time.
I started at 35, I think, is when I started comedy.
And what sparked it for you? What made you get on there for the first time at 35?
I had wanted to do stand-up my whole life.
Yeah.
But I had really debilitating stage fright. And so that is why I got into music. I tried stand-up as a kid. And my stage fright was so bad, but I wanted to entertain. So I started playing an instrument.
Yeah.
So I could be on stage with the safety of other people.
Totally.
and I could just look down and play guitar and not have to be, that helped a lot. And the longer I did that, the more comfortable I got. And then I started doing spoken word stuff. And then I was like, I want to do stand-up because now I feel like I can do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I had enough control I could get on stage. And then I failed miserably for probably 8 years. Just
as a stand-up.
ate hot shit.
Oh, yeah.
And made my skin so tough that now I'm real good at getting up in front of people and not letting them see that I am, that I am a flop. I'm flop sweating inside myself.
All over.
It's inside my skin. You can't see the sweat.
That's
I
it.
sweat interior
Right.
sweat. But that was 35 is when I was like, I feel like I can honestly do this now. And I'm in a better place because I've gone through all of my 20s. I've already made all the big fucking mistakes. And then I became a full-blown alcoholic. And that was super fun for 14 years of my stand-up career.
I bet.
But now we're sober and I feel like I'm a better comic and I've been through quite a bit and I'm, life is great at informing your viewpoints and your stand-up, especially if you're open to it.
Of course.
So I've been fortunate to have so many things go horribly wrong that I'll never run out of material.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the gift that we have as comedians, right? That's what we're meant to do. You put it in the wood chipper and it comes out as other shit that other people can just go like, oh, yeah, I get it. Shower me with that.
It's in my eyes.
Yeah. Why did you do that?
Why did you put comedy in my eyes?
You comedied me. Oh, my gosh.
Flush. I need a flush.
Yeah. Give me something sad.
I got dick jokes in my eyes. This is the worst.
Oh, no.
Why don't the cops spray those at protesters?
Yeah. You're just putting, I don't know, who's the biggest hack? You're just putting their material on a hose.
Here's dick jokes in your eyes.
Yeah. So if you could go back to 35-year-old Derek and be like, dude, focus on this, or don't do this, or know this, what would it be? Like, what do you wish you had more of in your life when you were starting?
I mean, if I could go back to 35-year-old Derek, the first thing I would do is knock the drink out of his hand.
Yeah.
And just go, this is all going to end up real bad.
Yeah.
So if you really want to do this, go every night, stop drinking. Don't just do your comedy and go home. Don't stick around. Don't try to make friends.
Yeah.
Just be a better stand-up.
Just
don't
put
worry
your
about
nose
all
down.
the other shit. It'll save you years and years of like headaches and trauma and you'll just, the farther removed you are from comedy as a comedian, the better you tend to be at it.
I've never heard it put that way, but I can totally vibe with that.
I mean, that's my dumb opinion. Not everybody would agree, but I feel like, comedy can be a very unhealthy lifestyle. And the farther away you are from it, especially if you're doing it, the farther away you can actually be away from it, the better it's probably going to be down the road. As you get better, the only reputation you end up having is being funny.
Yeah.
People are like, yep, they come into town, they're fucking funny, and then they leave.
Yeah,
it's real sad. I wish they could tell me what restaurant they hated.
Yeah.
Or what comedian they don't think is funny, or who on the show sucked, or how they feel about this particular local political issue that's happening in stand-up, or so-and-so's success that we don't think is earned, or whatever. Like, I would just tell 35-year-old me, do the mic, say hello to everybody, be kind, and then get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And work on your life.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about. Work on your life, put the dick jokes in their eyes, and take a step out the door.
Take a step out the door. Put the whiskey down.
Yeah.
Put the whiskey down.
Dude.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
Put the whiskey down. You're come from an abusive household. That's a tool. That's a tool. It's not fun. That's not weed is different. Weed is the reconciliation drug, and booze is what you use when you don't know how to use weed. So
man, I keep hearing that
again.
Oh no, are we freezing? We're freezing. I'm moving, seeing if I can loosen it up.
We froze.
Oh no.
Yeah, you're there. You're there.
I'm moving. I'm grooving. Well, I keep hearing that same idea. Don't drink so much. Don't drink so much. That's what at least half of my guests have said, essentially, when it comes down to it. And it's like, that is great advice. And comedy is such a blast, and you have so much fun, and you want to just keep the juicy, fun vibes going. And the booze is the quickest way to do it.
It is, but sometimes you can just do a little bit of this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get drunk. And normally you don't want to like make a Facebook post or tell people your deepest inner secrets when you're high. You just want to like enjoy the moment. And you're never like, no one's ever going to be like, when they're high, like, man, you see fucking Jay over there doing well. His jokes suck, right? No one wants to do that when they're high. They're like,
no,
yeah, fucking, I never laughed this hard at that person before. This is great. When I'm drinking, I'm always like, all right, who is trying to fuck me over right now? I know it's happening. I know somebody's trying to fuzz. I feel like I'm getting a short shrift at this club. I'm not getting enough work. Everybody's against me. I wonder if my dad's still alive. Like,
that's the booze talking.
That's the booze talking. The pot talking is like, man, wouldn't it be great if they made like Doritos out of Cheetos?
I think they've got those now.
Do they have Churritos?
Yeah. Churritos. You should talk to somebody.
Yeah, I should. I mean, I do talk to people often, but not about the things I care about like this.
Yeah, this is the important stuff. Yeah, I'll be billing you $85.
It's the only time, by the way, I've had lots of addictions in my life, and my family has had to put up with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But my marijuana is the one time that my entire family has been like, wow, this is great for you. This has been a real improvement. Like,
I love that.
I've gotten pot Christmas gifts from my family because they're just like, we love it when you're high.
Yeah.
It's the only time they haven't been concerned about a habit that they're like, this is great.
You're like the anti-dare ad.
Yeah,
This is Derek spraying on weed, and then it's like a nicely cooked breakfast.
Yeah, yeah. It's a modest. The eggs are cooked just right though. It's still a little moist. You don't want to get all the moisture out of there.
A little juicy.
A chicken sausage, nothing too heavy.
Uh-huh.
And a side of orange juice with a little bit of grape juice poured in as well. So you get that's a little cocktail. That's a little mixology. Concord grape juice and orange juice together.
Ooh, that's an exciting breakfast.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and a bird flies by. Just stops on your finger and just goes, what are you doing? You eating breakfast? That's healthy. And then takes up. That's me on pot. Me on booze is just me staring at my phone going like, this person probably has it out for me.
Fucking Dave.
I'll never forget. I wonder if that girl that told me to fuck off in high school is on Facebook.
Oh, Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Oh, my life's been nothing but a funnel of horror.
That's the name of your book.
Funnel of Horror.
I love it. Derek, I love talking with you, man. This is a real treat. I appreciate you and your comedy, and I love getting to know you better. So
likewise, this has been great, man. I am sorry I fucked up the time today, by the way. That is not a normal thing, but definitely if anybody's going to fuck up the time, it's Sheen.
Dude,
Sheen's going to do it.
I'm time weird myself, so don't trip, my friend. Well, again, go see Derek in Erie. Perfect place for you. Of all the places, you're like, I gotta perform in Erie. I'm being the horror fan that you are. So check out what is it called? The Flagship Comedy Fest in Erie coming up. Derek, any final words before we take them out?
I'm glad I'm doing a comedy festival in Erie. I was trying to get into the one in Dread, North Carolina, but they're not available yet. And Pervasively Negative Thoughts Comedy Festival in
I applied for Don't Come Here Comedy in Shit My Pants, Arkansas.
Oh man, you too?
Yeah.
I didn't get in there, but I did get into the Suicidal Ideation Festival at
That's in Kentucky?
Yeah, that's in every state. That's in
We've got a few in the Northwest.
They're like the don't tell now. They're like don't tell, but it's like don't tell. I'm going to kill myself.
That's really what they're saying. Don't tell about.
Yeah, don't tell means no note. That means.
That would be a great horror film. Is a don't tell comedy show that just somebody dies on every show. That's a great horror flick. There's got to be one of those out there.
There is not. There should be. Well, let's write it.
Let's write it. Okay, that'll be the next one I talk to you for an hour about. All right. Rock on, Derek. Thank you so much. Where can people find you online if they want to see more Derek Sheen?
Derek Sheen Rules, SHEEN RULZ.
Ooh.
Rules with a Z at .com is that's all you need to know. All my links are there for my socials, lots of video, lots of content, always new tour dates going up, and hit me up on their IG. I'm always on Instagram.
Beautiful.
Derek Sheen 666.
Rock on, baby. Derek Sheen rules. Thanks again, my man. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym.
With Rudy Tybersi.